In this video, I'm going to show you how to make yarn math your newest superpower. Let's get started. Now, why would you need to know how to calculate how much yarn you need for a project? You follow patterns all the time, right? No, you do not. Say, for instance, you want to shop your stash. You want to pull out yarn you have at home. You wonder how much you have exactly and what can you do with that. Maybe you saw a great stitch on Pinterest and you'd love to try it to make a blanket, but you have no idea how much yarn you're going to need. With the yarn calculation method, I can show you exactly how much yarn you're going to need in a very close range anyway, so you won't have a lot of leftovers, or heaven forbid, not buy enough and you end up with an extra skein of yarn that you had to get to finish your project and it's from a different dye lot. So let's avoid all of that, and I'll show you how easy it is. Now, there's some math involved, but I'm going to handhold you through this. I have the written instructions in a blog post, but you can bookmark this for the future when you need it. You may not need it right now, but at some point in your knitting or crocheting life, this will come up. I remember when I was designing the Siren Song blanket, this stitch is a yarn hog. It is absolutely gorgeous, but as I was working up a swatch to figure out gauge, and I knew the size blanket I wanted to make, oh my goodness, I was getting very nervous that I did not have enough yarn. So I pulled out my standard method that I use. I use this when I'm designing patterns and sizing so that I can give you a good range of how much yardage or meters you will need to make your project. So I'm working up a swatch here, and this is some yarn I reviewed recently, the Premier Bamboo Chunky. So I'm using the size hook that I want for my drape, for the stitch I'm using. That's how you're going to do this. So for instance, if you're ordering online, which this will be really helpful with Joann closing, pull something from your stash. I know you have some yarn laying around, we all do, to varying degrees. And look online at the label, all right? Look for your yards compared to grams. If you're not in the United States, do your meters to your grams. And compare that to a label on your yarn that you currently have. Work up whatever kind of stitch you want, and this will give you a pretty close neighborhood of how much you need to buy. Okay, so you don't need to actually have your yarn that you have your eye on to order it. And another reason you want to order enough at once is, for instance, this yarn, buy enough of the same dye lot to complete your project. Otherwise, it's going to be looking all crazy. Not necessarily, but it's possible. The colors, they can vary by dye lot. All right, so I'm going to finish stitching up. This is I'm doing a 4x4. You can do bigger. And then I'm going to show you what we do after we do our swatch. So you want to use your gram function for this. I'm going to tear it out to a 0. Put my swatch on here. Make sure that my edge is not adding weight. So I've got 9 grams. I'm going to write that down. All right, so I have my yarn weight, which is 9 grams. So I'm going to write that down. 9 grams equals my 4 by 4 inch square. So I need my square inches. 4 by 4 is 16. So I have 16 square inches. And then from there, going to look at a yarn label. And this is where we figure out how many yards or meters are in a gram. Don't worry about the ounce measurement. I'm going to say my label. Sorry, writing on this pad. There's a little bit of a lag to go a little more slowly. Label equals 100 grams which equals 131 yards or 120 meters. Now, when I'm writing patterns, sometimes I'll do both, just because I have some makers that are not in the United States, and I want to make sure that they're able to figure this out just from looking at my instructions. Now to calculate. So from here, I'm going to divide my swatch, my 9 grams. So this will be your yarn swatch weight divided by my square inches, which is here. Came up with 16. Okay, so again, your grams divided by your square inch of your swatch, whatever size swatch you make. Okay, let me calculate. That is 0.56. Now from here, the project I'm working on is, let's see, I've got to calculate the sleeve, which is 19 inches long, one of the sizes, by 17 inches circumference. So it's a full sleeve. And if I calculate that, and then I want, it's for 2 sleeves, 748 square inches, and then my top, let's see, 4,160. Let's just rewrite that off. 4,167 square inches. So I'm going to add these two together. $4,915. All right, so this is the total square inch of my project. So now this number, my square inches, is multiplied here by my inches per gram, square inches per gram. So multiply this by 56. And that will give me 2,752.4 yards. This is how many yards I will need So when I look on here and see that one skein has 131 yards, I need a lot of skeins for this. Let me calculate that. So I'm going to divide this by 131. Right, so I'm going to take my 2,752 and divide that by the 131 yards, since I calculated yards for this particular one. I didn't do the meters yet. So there's 131 yards in the skein. So I will need 21 skeins of this yarn for this project that I'm making. It's a big project. That sounds about right. So that's how you calculate for your project. All right, so let's say I want to make a blanket with this beautiful soft yarn using that same stitch. So I've already done my calculation, and I'm going to use blue ink for this one so that you can tell I'm working on a different project calculation. And I'm going to make a 36, okay, it looks a little not great, 36 by 48, that's a standard size. So to get my square footage for this, I'm going to calculate 36 times 48. And that is 1,728 square inches. All right, so we multiply these two numbers and that gets us our square inches. So I have to divide, or I'm sorry, multiply the 1728, the square inches, times this number here. So my yards per square inch calculation is this 0.56. Which I already did that. Okay, 1728 is 968 yards needed to make this size blanket with this yarn. So from there, I'm going to go over to, let's go over to the big calculator. Okay, and I'm going to put in that 968 yards that I need and divide that by how many yards are in this skein to let me know how many skeins I will need to make the 36 by 48 inch blanket. So 968 divided by my yards. There we go. I need just over 7 skeins of yarn. And that calculation was without a border, so I would probably just round up and get the 8 skeins, maybe 9, depending on how flashy of a border I want to make for the blanket. If you found this helpful, please give the video a like and consider subscribing if you haven't already. If you have other questions or this is not clear to you, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.